This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, Leroy Bolt and Kyle to go our board excuse. Dale Schmidt.
Here.
Jessica Atkinson. Here. Emmett Obinger. Here. Betsy Kluke.
Here.
Linda Munson.
Here. Sorry.
Stand for pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does anyone have any action on the agenda? Alright. Then action on the minutes from the Bike and Ped Committee meeting held on March 14th.
Yep. Where it says others present, I don't believe Mary was here at the last meeting, but Joel was, and Joel's name is not on here, but Mary's is. I'm sure Mary wasn't here, correct me if I'm wrong.
I thought Mary was and introduced Linda at the meeting. I
thought you did. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't remember for sure, but I thought she was at the beginning of the meeting.
I'll check the video. It's okay. Okay, and then I don't think Joel's name is on here for this present, unless you weren't here, Joel. But she referred to you later on in the under public comments, something from you, so.
I think it was.
Okay, the only other corrections I had, I just told Susie ahead of time, it was just really minor small things.
And can I get a motion to accept the minutes with the additions that were presented to Sue?
No motion to accept.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. Quick vote, are all in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, here, great. Thank you. All right, any comments from the public? And you said we don't have to read through those ones, Susie?
Right.
Okay, all right, so site plan review, did Kyle
Didn't give me.
any notes for that? Anything else for site plan that anyone else knows of?
Just a couple quick ones. Obviously, Green Packaging submitted a nearly 200,000 square foot addition to their packaging plant. That's coming through. We have a site plan tomorrow night. We'll have a few items that'll be coming forward in the coming months. So I think the commission or the committee will be interested in seeing a couple of projects that we're waiting for formal application for.
Action items, looks like I'm pretty much gonna be turning it over to, pretty much all Doug.
Sure. Looks like the first item is regarding Morris Avenue reconstruction. And that's a 2023 project. I'm assuming that's what was wanted, discussion of these projects and what was coming forward or how they were laid out. So Morris Avenue between Oneida Street and Holmgren Way. For those of you who, well, it's probably been discussed in the site plan reviews. There's another hotel going on that stretch of road. That will warrant, first of all, some of the utilities to be upgraded under the road. The water main needs to be upgraded to provide adequate future fire flow for that location. So with that, with the utilities being constructed, the road will be reconstructed at that time also. At this point in time, there hasn't been a design done, nothing of that nature yet. That's going to happen this winter, if you will. The design will happen, bid out early next year. Construction from roughly April. If it's like 2022, it'll be July by the time we get out and do any construction. Sorry, that was my attempt at a joke on a Monday. Did not go over. I'm sorry. I'll do better with my next joke. Construction next year of the utilities and roadway. And completion for roughly the August timeframe of next year. That being said, the road reconstruction, the intent would be to follow the reports that we already have on file and recommendations. I think Tracy asked at the last village board meeting just what was going to be put on Morris Avenue in terms of accommodations. Currently, there's a sidewalk on the south side. This area is within the entertainment district, if you will, and Mike McCarthy Way was reconstructed, the sidewalk on both sides. This stretch of roadway would be done the same. In terms of lane configuration, things of that nature, that hasn't been determined as of yet. That would be part of the design process. What type of material the road's built out of, concrete or asphalt, that's to be determined at this point. We don't have that information quite yet. That'll come through our design process this fall. We're in the process right now of getting an engineering firm on board, typically do all of the surveying of the roadway during the summer months to give you the canvas, if you will, to work off of and start on design. And then as part of the design process, we typically have public informational meetings going through that information. If there's requests to bring it through board committee, that's part of the process as well.
To follow up with something that I know there's probably a few questions on. So the possibility of looking at the Oneida/Morris intersection with the push buttons and the crosswalks, that could potentially be discussed as part of this project when it comes time for design.
Yes, so there's the bike and ped plan, which we use on the designs, that has recommendations in it that we would incorporate into the design. Last year, there was also the intersection improvement analysis that I think a number of us went on the tour and completed. That work would be pulled into this as well to see what could be implemented. And then it's strictly a cost factor. But all of that work would be enveloped in, if you will, into the design and reviewed at that point.
So Doug, the intersection itself, does that have to, because that's county road, did the county have to get involved in that with Morris and Oneida? And would they help fund those changes?
They would not. The intersection isn't being reconstructed. So we'd be tying in at the far east end of the intersection. Basically where the concrete ends is where we would be tying in.
Okay.
So if the village chooses to redo all of the signals or the ped buttons there, that would be part of our project.
Okay, so we could do or we're planning with the project to do the ped buttons and reconfigure that when Morris goes in, or when the Morris is changed, but that'll be looked at too.
That would be part of the design, and then it would be reviewed.
Okay. Thank you.
The only thing the county would have involvement on would be a right-of-way permit, if you will, because we could potentially be tapping or tying into some utilities that would be within the right-of-way of Brown County. We'd have to fill out a permit on that end of things. But road construction wise, it's strictly a village project, so there isn't any involvement from the county other than a permit or two.
Okay.
Yep. You get more of them with me. Oh, that one, Joel. That one better. Yeah. Next one is the intersection updates from 2022. As Tracy mentioned, there's the intersection at Oneida and Morris Avenue. We had a list of 36 intersections that were discussed last year. About 20 of them had no immediate improvements. Another half dozen or so are ones that we with village staff will be chipping away at because they're of a smaller dollar amount or smaller improvement needs. And then there's about another 10 that are larger in nature, with one of them being the Oneida Morris push buttons. So there's that project that would be developed into the Morris construction. Let's see. At the same time, Holmgren at Morris Avenue is also one that's to be looked at. So that, Tracy, to answer your question, there's actually 2 intersections that would be looked at as part of this design of Morris Avenue.
Okay,
Both ends would be.
Okay.
There are 2 of them on 172, Babcock at 172 and Packer Lane at 172. We just got word over the winter, and there's some very preliminary concept designs out there by the state DOT that 172 is going to see an overlay project. If you remember, before Highway 41 was built, they went out and diamond ground 172 through the area and put in, they retrofitted rebar into the panels to make them stop drifting. It appears as though they're going to do an asphalt overlay project out there, and it appears as though it's going to be 2023 or 2024 construction. We haven't seen anything more than that, other than they sent notice to the local jurisdictions. So with that, as we would see something come forward, we'd be asking if there are any improvements that are scheduled for those intersections at that time. So Tracy, I know you attend those DOT meetings when they have them also. That's something to put on your radar also, that you might see something this summer coming through as they work on.
so that would be Babcock and Packerland then on 172?
Yes. Mhm. There's a handful of others that are of larger dollar value that we would be tackling, similar in nature to what we are doing with Morris on the Morris Avenue project. So, like I said, we have two of them on tap with the Morris design. We have 6 of them that we'll be working through with our crews. I'm not saying all 6 will get done this summer. That's more time and cost dependent, but we'll be working on chipping those off over the next couple of years. And then there's about 6 others that, as the projects come forward.
So Doug, you haven't actually finalized the intersections that you're going to be completing this year with the funding that you had set aside, or are you still working?
No, we have the 6. We have 6 of them that we can do with our crews. We did receive, we received a couple calls from a resident. This would be the San Luis at Cormier intersection. She has a motorized wheelchair that lifts her up, and some of her access points, she asked if there could be some improvements, and that was one of the intersections we were going to do first. Since we had feedback at one location, we tackle that one first.
Okay.
Questions on intersections before we move on?
So we'll see an update as you go, as you're moving forward. Assuming that we have future meetings, still let us know.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you don't know for sure what you can get done and what you can't.
Right. And this coming fall, winter, there'll be meetings coming up as we get into the design of Morris Avenue to just kind of see what the thought process is on it. That's the time where we take that input and make modifications to the design a little bit.
Thank you. 2 down, 1 to go.
Last one on road projects for this year. In terms of reconstruction projects in 2022, there isn't a reconstruction project where we're tearing up a whole area. This year's work is basically our mill and resurface work. That's where they grind off the top 2 inches of asphalt, place 2 inches of asphalt down. Tentatively have, I think, 8 or 10 locations this year. Portion of the industry court, portion of Ashwaubenon access road, Parkview Court, stretch of Parkview Road, Market Street, Babcock Road, section of that, Bruce Lane, a portion of Bruce Lane, and a portion of Ponderosa Ave. There aren't any, like I said, there aren't any reconstructions. It's more so resurfacings that we have this year. However, we do have, we're finishing off, if everybody remembers, Highland Ridge Estates out by the former golf course. Phase 1 of the development out there has work left to finish off in terms of the punch list items, trail construction, the crossing across Sand Acres Drive, some improvements on the cut across between the two former golf buildings. We have a meeting scheduled with the developer just to understand how the parking is going to be handled out there so we can make that crossing work as well as possible.
See, you got the crosswalk signs up.
But the trail work itself still has to be completed. There's some no parking signs that still have to be relocated out there to the final locations. Kind of putting finishing touches. They went right up to the start of winter and we're really gunning to get the utilities and the road in yet last fall. And they have a lot of the cleanup work to do this spring. So
Houses going up there.
along with Highland Ridge, Alden Station has been under construction. That's the former Schneider Pumpkin Patch, as everybody knows it. The utilities and road are completed there. The trails and gravel. The bridge is going to be starting design this summer, roughly this summer, fall. We have it in our paving plans for each year for paving the trail, just as a placeholder that once the bridge is in, we can come through with the trail paving to tie it all together. As you understand, we don't want to pave the trail fully and then dig a portion of it up to put the bridge in. So we're gonna we'll see how things progress this summer and adjust from there. If we want to pave a portion of it, we can. If we want to hold off till the bridge is.
We're at the mercy of the DNR right now. Start off with Greg about an hour ago, and I'll do an update when it's.
Is that on Main? Are you talking about where they're trying to put the trail in on?
Nope, you're one step ahead of me.
Oh.
This is on South Broadway by Hanson and South Broadway.
Oh, okay.
There's the new development down by the river there.
Mhm.
A trail comes off of Broadway and goes along the creek and then along the river and ties into the trail that
Oh,
heads
okay.
clear over to the marina. And the gravel portion of the trail is in, but it hasn't been paved.
Okay.
One thing is I could see with like the Arch Street, that's gonna be such an asset.
It's gonna be
It
huge.
is. It is. I mean, the bridge, the
Well,
whole
Steve,
thing.
even Manso Flats, Bay Harbor condominiums, Alden Station, everyone, for all the food truck rallies and every event that's in Ashwaubenon, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be, I anticipate quite a bit of traffic for that. So.
It does. On Babcock, where is it going to happen? Because there's a picture in the Gazette about the Babcock Road. Did you see that? I'm sure it was in my imagination. They had an article on roads, and I think they had a picture of Babcock Road. And I'm like, I don't know where it is because
Sure, the stretch
it was all cracked.
the stretch that's proposed is the stretch between 172 heading south.
I'm driving and I didn't see as much cracked as they have, but they had a picture of it in the paper, talking about roads generally in the area, and they picked Babcock to do one of the pictures on.
Worry more about the people trying to cross there than the
Right.
roads.
Right.
Yeah,
Tricky.
It's not a nice place.
As I mentioned, West Main Avenue, the trail construction started out there last year. There were utility relocations that had to happen out there. Everything got completed down to the ground base, if you will, of the trail. That work has to be completed this spring, summer. Also, the paving of the trail, the restoration, the signage, the striping, things of that nature. That'll get finished this spring into early summer. The contractor that's doing that work is the same contractor that won the bid for two of our pond projects this spring. So we have a pre-construction meeting coming up with them next week, and we have on that agenda just getting a schedule from them of when they're going to start that project back up. Have to let it dry out. That's as everybody knows, it's a little wet out there, and we have to let that area dry up and then get it toned up for asphalt paving. So there isn't a lot left on that project, but once it's dry, they'll be getting back out there.
I mean, I've been paying attention to the Main Street one. You're close to where they're gonna actually pave that. Over by the, it's Main Street, right?
Yes.
It's all dug up, and then they had ran into problems with things underground last year.
Yeah, the gravel's all in, and then they'll be paving it from, let's see, from Sand Acres to up to Ridge Road.
I had some people asking me about plowing that from the Sand Acres area, which we get once in a while, right? Just because it's convenient, there's not a lot of places to go over there.
The other work we have coming up this year, the north half, if you remember last year, we did the parking lot out in front of Village Hall. We have the public safety or north parking lot we'll be working on. The Cornerstone Community Center has some potential paving that we'll be doing out there. And then Brett Bar Pass and Bar Star Way. The city of Green Bay is doing a large sidewalk project within this area, right here. All of the streets within the city in that area. I'm forgetting the name of that development area. But they redid all of the utilities, put them underground last year, and they're going to be starting this year putting sidewalk in that development area. We're going to be tying in village sidewalk on Bar Star Way, right here by the LP Meridian store. And then Brett Farm Pass by the old Jersey store. Oops, sorry. Right? Yes. Right here. By the old Jersey store on the north end, Brett Farm Pass. Putting in a section of sidewalk to tie into the sidewalk they have going through all their developments. In a nutshell, that's the work we have going on this year. Like I said, not a large scale reconstruction project, road reconstruction project, a lot of smaller projects scattered throughout the village.
Where are we, Doug, with, just so the committee's aware, with Ridge Road between Morris and the stadium?
Ridge Road is a placeholder right now with the 2023 work. As everybody knows, there was some property owner pushback on that project, and the village is going to be reaching back out to those property owners over the course of the next year.
There's erosion, revenue from parking maybe.
That project is designed and ready once property owner discussions have been had once again.
Thanks, Doug.
Yep, that was good. Thank you.
Any questions? Anything else? Annette, I didn't bore you too much, did I?
No, why?
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure.
I'm not bored. Not even taking minutes and writing down, it's fine with me.
I'm curious, though, so not related to bike and ped, but how do you make a decision what roads need to be resurfaced?
Resurface?
Is it years and
Every-
amount of traffic?
Every 2 years, it's called PASER. It's a rating program that we do. We drive every street every other year and rate the roads.
Oh, okay.
And then based off of those ratings, we develop a 5-year paving plan off of it. But then each spring, what we task our field operators, all the guys in the public works department, if they're out collecting garbage, if they're out picking up refuse, when they're out plowing, if you start hitting things that jar your teeth, that you're driving down a road that seems really bad, let us know, because we compile all that information. And then we go back through this year especially. If any community you drove in this year with the amount of rain, warm up, then freeze that we had this year, all the roads, no matter where you drove, were like driving through the Himalayas. It was really bad. Everything's starting to settle back down now, but the roads really got bad. We had a lot of roads drop in ratings significantly the past year. It was a really, really tough year weather-wise on the roads, which sounds silly, but that's just when you get a lot of moisture, a lot of freeze thaw over and over again. That's having almost like multiple winters happening back to back. So what we do each spring then is we go back through, we have our paving plan, and there are a couple streets that moved onto the list this year even because they were 2 or 3 years out. Then we slid back in. North Road is one that has been paved in the time I've been here. We're probably going to pave a section of North Road again in the next few years because it's in an area that when we had a lot of dry weather. They held up just fine, but we were in that wet stretch the past few years, and some of the roads in the village just really took it difficult. And there are sections of the village that used to be, for lack of a better term, used to be wetlands, and were built in wetlands. And as that gets wet, you can imagine as that freezes, everything heaves in different ways and disrupts the road. So that's
From
how we-
your experience, the years of experience, have you seen technology that helps improve that when they're building the roads to overcome that, or is it is what it is because of the frost buildup?
The biggest thing is having a well-drained gravel base underneath it.
Okay.
That's, to me, is the biggest thing that can help you. And every community struggles with that. The village has a very sturdy base that it puts in now, but the village is also 70 years old. And when things were built maybe back in the 50s, everybody's still learning. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
and some of those roads don't have as deep a base in it. In about 7 or 8 years, there's going to be a utility reconstruction program, similar to what you see in other communities. The village is going to have to start one because its utilities are getting to the age where it has to get reconstructed. That means the roads will get redone to a little more modern standards at that time and rebuilt. And also in some sections of the village, I'll use an example, south of Titletown, that area used to be a wetland area. And when that was developed, if you drive down any of those streets in that area, there's only catch basins at the ends of the block. There's nothing in between. Well, when those roads get redone, storm sewer is going to have to get put in that area to drain it better. At that point in time, you can put under drains in the roadway to help with frosting and heat. And I have completely bored everyone to tears now with what I said, but that's kind of the thought process behind it. So.
People ask,
Good information.
fantastic. You know?
Yeah, no, it's done every 2 years and then it's reviewed annually after the spring thaw. So people will ask us, will call us even from time to time and say, you're not following your 5-year plan, why is that? And that's the reason. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
So, all right. Good, everybody.
Discussion and possible action on future trail additions in the southwest area comprehensive plan. I'm not sure if that's.
Well,
More on all this,
no,
or-
Tracy just wanted me to bring this forward, and so what's happening, obviously, is you all know that the golf course was partially sold, and they're building a new development. But the question is, what is it in the, there's questions on what's in the comprehensive plan, and if the comprehensive plan was specifically made somewhat vague rather than specific, because if it's vague, then you can pretty much add in what you need to add in when the time comes. But there were 3 pages just of general information. In your packet, it's page 12, 13, and 14. On page 12, the Village of Ashwaubenon should continue to take a proactive stance to meet the needs of an aging population, which would include expansion of its trailway and path system. So that could literally mean anywhere in the village, not only the southwest area. It could also mean for the housing development potentially over here that's coming up on Mike McCarthy Way. So that's one mention. On page 13, has a copy of page 25 of our comprehensive plan, pathways in the Sand Acres development. So this is very specific. Crusher Dust extension from Sand Acres Park pathway to Arts Lane. Arts Lane empties out onto West Main. Right now that's a farm field. It's kind of northeast of Sand Acres Park. That's what the first bullet point is talking about. So when the Van family, who owns that right now, is interested in selling that property, and it probably will be sold to a developer, that's where they're going to get the most money for additional home sales. At that point, we will work with the developer on doing a right-of-way to Arts Lane. It'll probably follow the gas line. So nothing can be built on it anyway, so really all it needs to be done is like a crusher dust pathway on top. Second bullet point, extension of the Main Avenue Trail, Sand Acres Drive eastward. We've already done part of that. That's the one that Doug was just talking about before, from Sand Acres Drive to Ridge. Eventually, our thought is to go from Ridge Road down to the traffic circle. That will allow a walking path for all of those sub-developments to get to Aldi's, to get to Festival, Gallagher's Pizza, wherever they may want to get some food and or groceries, that type of thing. The thought is, real briefly on that, moving forward, it may necessitate being a sidewalk versus a continuation of the trail, just because of the space allotment that's there, the right of way. You've got a fairly steep slope with the van household that's kind of up almost on a hill. And then if we went with the sidewalk, we could use the current bridge sidewalk that crosses Ashwaubenon Creek. If we went with a path, then we'd have to build another bridge adjacent to the roadway bridge. So the thought was, when it's time to do that, we don't have a timetable for that. It'll be expensive, even if it's a sidewalk, just because of the utility relocations. But that would, cost effective wise, it's going to need to be a sidewalk.
So is that Ashwaubenon all the way to the roundabout, or is part of that west? Do we have to work with them, or?
No, it's Ashwaubenon.
Okay.
Until you hit the roundabout, then it becomes Pedestrian. But that last parcel, kind of across from Ultra Brothers.
Yep.
That last parcel is Oneida land. So we would need to work with the Oneidas to get permission to put the last 100 yards of trail or sidewalk to connect to the roundabout trail.
You're saying like with the DP, or is that DP?
So that's on the other. So it would be.
Oh, you're saying.
It would be on the west side of the access road. The BP is on the east side of the access road.
Okay, I got you.
Right now, I think Ultra Brothers is using it as another parking lot.
Yes,
Like a bunch
okay,
of
now I know.
trucks.
Yep, you're right.
Trailers. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Extension of the Packerland Trail from Fernando southward to Grant. That's in the plan. Whether it is on Hobart property, I'm going to guess that may or may that won't happen. It'll probably need to be on Ashwaubenon side, but you never know. That's still out there. And then construction of a trail connector on the north side of Grant from Sand Acres all the way to Packerland. Those two almost need to be married together as a single project, because you don't want to do one without making sure you have the ability to do the other in the future. There is some challenges on Grant. Just off the corner of Grant and Sand Acres, there's some private property there, and this is a rural estate, so there's no, it's not like curb and gutter backwards. It's open drainage area.
Yep.
So you almost have to put the trail then back on the back side of that open drainage area. So you're really pushing that trail back, which takes away a lot of property from whatever the homeowner development is. So there's still things to be worked out there once the time comes, but that'll happen as development happens. And then last but not least, I just highlighted the last bullet point: potential trail additions in the southwest quadrant as further development housing starts occur. And that's probably where Tracy, where you we're talking about, because eventually, there's going to be more development in that quadrant, and so then we're going to be putting in more trail. If the golf course ever decides that they don't want to be a golf course anymore, that's a lot of wetland area. A trail might make the most sense to put in there. I know we've also talked about, and it's not on here because this is the bike and ped plan, but we've also talked about a mini park back in that area to try and, if it's more housing back in there, to take some pressure off of Sand Acres Park, which is extremely busy right now. So a mini park where at least some of the parents with smaller kids can take their kids to. And we probably take a look at a trail and or sidewalk like is off of the feeder streets that go to that, potentially wherever that mini park would be. But that's what's in the bike and ped plan. What we felt would pretty much put an umbrella over any potential future projects that would happen.
Does the southwest quadrant include where those new duplexes are going on? Yeah, you know,
They're twin dominions.
twin dominions,
Yeah.
and that's.
Which one are we talking about?
The new ones that they just.
Next to the little farm.
The ones that we sold.
Second.
They just have that's.
More on Grant or?
It's on Grant, yeah.
Yeah.
Are the
Well, what do they
southwest
call that? It has a different
Green
name.
Park Meadows.
Yeah.
Is that included in the southwest quadrant?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the southwest quadrant is fairly large in
Right,
nature.
okay, so it's not only the sand acres, but.
Sand Acres, the Ashwaubenon Sports Complex area, literally the whole industrial park is going to be considered the southwest quadrant.
Do you think, Rex, though, that once, because I know you've got over time redoing the other parks, the equipment in parks, would take some pressure off of, because I can tell you, I'm one of them. I live right next to the park and I take my grandkids to, because they're old enough. Right? So I'm wondering if when we redo the parks, if equipment changes, if that wouldn't take some pressure where people would, maybe not, because you got a lot of stuff up there.
We do have a lot of stuff, and so it's going to be, and again, this is more of a park board thing, but let me say that there'll probably be a lot of blowback if the equipment were downgraded in amount or in size, because when we first built that park, we had a number of community meetings out there, and they wanted the elimination of the splash pad. They wanted the best playground equipment around. That is what the neighborhood wanted when that park was built.
Yeah.
That's what we gave them. We still think it's some pretty nice stuff that's out there.
Yeah.
In terms of amount and height, and it's got that, I don't want to say danger factor, but
Yeah.
you know,
It appeals to the older kids.
Yeah, it appeals to the older kids. There's a lot of climbing and
On the outside,
different
Mhm.
games you can play because of what's out there. So I would not anticipate that changing so much.
Well, I'm not saying decreasing that. I'm saying increasing the size of the equipment in the other parks as we redo those parks.
Anything can happen. Again, I can tell you that equipment at Sand Acres probably ran total cost wise about $250,000. I mean, with that amount of equipment.
They
And
just
so,
gotta ask the neighbors for some donation.
yeah. So the next park up, well, other than Smith, which is this year, but the next park up is probably going to be Waterford. So
Yeah,
the next one.
that's why I'm thinking, because that's like close to home.
Unless something happens. And my guess is that we probably want to keep somewhat the same size, is my guess. It's a park that draws people from all over, not just Ashwaubenon.
Sand Acres.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. People drive there, there's a lot of parking. Yep, absolutely. You're right.
Yeah, so I don't know
You're right.
by
Would make a change.
increasing the equipment in some of our other Ashwaubenon parks, I really don't think it's going to affect.
Yeah.
Number wise, not very much anyway, what's happening at Sand Acres.
Good point. I mean, west of here, you're probably pulling a lot of.
There's a lot of new development happening in that quadrant, and as well as in Lawrence. There's a lot of people who are moving into Lawrence that are coming to that park as well.
Okay.
So I've
Where
got
is
the
that
big,
Sand Acres Park? Is it right by the golf course kind of?
kind of, sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
If you go down, if you know
Drive
where
up
Monroe Truck is on Main Street, just go down the side of Monroe Truck. It's about 2 blocks down. It's got a lot of playground equipment and a sledding hill.
Hill.
It's kind of why we wanted the flashing lights for the cross on Sand Acres, because we know there'll be a lot of, those new homes, there's gonna be a young people in
right.
those new homes.
Tracy, do you have any additional questions or feedback on this particular agenda item?
I just have a couple. What about, we talk about the gas line trail going to the east. What about just mention it in the plan going to the west? Because if that that golf course, the south end of the golf course does go away someday, that's just a natural to continue that trail all the way to the west. And I think, doesn't it run into Grant maybe further far west, to just have that in there? So that's known. The other thing, and I don't know, Rex or Joel, you can maybe comment on this, but is there a way in this plan to also talk a little bit about the county roads? Because all the roads out there, you know, Grant to Packerland to West Main are county roads, and just to put something in there that when they reconstruct, they should look at putting in the village like a wide shoulder on those roads, just to make it easier for people to walk and bike through that area. If we have the path, that's a great thing, but it's just a lot of bicyclists are out in that area, and it's more of a place for people that are going a longer distance on their bike, and to have a space for them is important. So I don't know if it's appropriate to put in this plan, but I just think to have that noted, so we're not only talking about trails and pathways, but we're also saying, okay, these roads, when they're reconstructed, we would like wide curbs on, or wide shoulders on them to accommodate other uses.
We can certainly add that in. I would say, I think the latest update to our comprehensive outdoor recreation plan was in 2019, supposed to do it about every 5 years for the DNR. So that would mean this committee would probably start working on the process over again in 23 for an update in 24. So we can, and I don't think any of those county roads are planned for reconstruction before that. So I would.
I think Grant is 2023, if I remember right. I thought Doug had mentioned that at a past meeting that one was coming up fairly soon, because we talked about that one development that was by the farm that Annette mentioned a couple of minutes ago. And the concern with that one was people getting from cul-de-sac to cul-de-sac. And then I think Doug had mentioned that they were redoing that road. Like I said, I think it was 2023.
I'm not aware of that one. Okay.
I think, Tracy, what we probably do is, I don't know that we can, I don't know that we need to include it in the comprehensive outdoor rec plan, but minimally maybe create a recommendation within the bike and ped plan.
Okay.
So identify that as a recommendation on maybe a policy that's identified in that plan, suggesting that when a rural road or a county trunk highway that's being reconstructed to a rural standard, that within the profile of that road, we have like a 4 foot or a 5, whatever the recommended paved shoulder width should be.
Yep.
And that if it gets reconstructed into an urban section, and that this will be up to the committee, either A, sidewalks are included, or multi-use side path or trail is included. Although I caution that because I think sidewalks generally are safer for users than an adjacent trail. But it depends on how many crossings and things like that are being impacted. So in prior communities, we had that where the sidewalk is kind of the default on urban collectors and arterials. Trails could be considered on limited access highways, as long as it met the certain side path suitability test.
Yep, that sounds great.
Now with Grand Street, I'll have to double check with Doug, and I can get back to him. I think the county's plan is just to do like a mill and pave on that. So that if I could be wrong, but if I understand it correctly, they wouldn't change the profile section of the road. If they reconstruct it and they add the additional paved shoulder, they may have to realign the ditches. And I'm not sure that that's the plan by the county.
Okay. Yeah, if you could check, that'd be great, because if indeed that development does occur on Grant, having somewhere for people to safely move on Grant would be important, you know? And the only other thing with the bike ped plan, maybe to add in there, Rex, to look at, just keeping in mind access points, like either between residential developments, to really look at what's connecting to, so people can move through that development to maybe a trail or into another residential development without having to go out to acres or one of the main roads. So maybe just put something about, you know, connectors between the subdivisions and other facilities, other accommodations.
Just looking at Google Earth, it looks like Grand Street has sufficient, it has like probably a 3 foot paved shoulder right now, with probably a 2.5, 3 foot gravel shoulder. So there might be the possibility of having a 4 or 5 foot paved shoulder with a 1 foot gravel shoulder on the side without doing any major reconstruction of the profile. But
That'd be-
we can confirm that and we can get back to the committee.
Okay, like even if they would narrow the roadway or the motor vehicle lanes a little bit and be able to have the 4 or 5 foot shoulder on there and not necessarily have to redo too much, that would be an option too. I know they're looking at that up by, up in Swamico, they're doing something like that where they're gonna just reconfigure the lane width a little bit.
I was gonna say, that's almost the cardinal sin for Brown County Highway.
I know. Yep. Swamico talked to them and they finally kind of said, okay, we're gonna look at that for you and put a shoulder on.
Okay.
Just where they stripe it.
So do we need,
You are correct, though. There's not a lot of room there to ride a bike.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
And there's only gonna get more as that residential area develops. There's gonna be more and more people out there that will wanna move in different manners in that area, so.
I don't know that we necessarily need action today, but maybe if there is action, just to have staff prepare a draft amendments to the court plan. I don't know, Rex, I don't think we even needed one per se for the court plan at this time, but maybe a amendment for the Bike and Ped Committee just to address that policy consideration. And then we can present that back unless Rex, you feel.
Nope, that's fine.
Then we could bring that back to committee then so you can actually see the language.
All right.
That'd be great, thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
and that brings us to review and possible action on the 2018 plan projects. I don't know if you're bringing it up on this. Yeah.
I think that was just asked to be put on there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Julie,
if
so is there anything specific we need to, or just move forward into department reports? Sounds good. Rex.
Park and Recreation, we talked about the West Main Avenue Trail a little bit. We talked about the Pavement Bridge, but I'll follow up on that a little bit. So right now, Grafe is, before we submit it to the DNR, Grafe is working with the DNR on some final hydrology reports and the information they want. Grafe wants to make sure that when the review process is done by the DNR, that the DNR has all the information they need. So Grafe is working with the DNR on making sure that the information they want is in the proposed plan that's being submitted to them. That could be as early as this week, or this week, or it could be next week. So they're just trying to follow up with a few things on what specific things they want to see in that plan that's being submitted. For those that are not aware, then from Alden Station, there will be a 15-foot wide pedestrian bridge going across Ashwaubenon Creek into Ashwaubenon Park. There will be a little mini park within a park. It's called our plaza / viewing area immediately on the north end of the park overlooking the river. And then the trail will go to the north end of the parking lot of the lake / baseball parking lot. That's phase one. I was asked by administration last week to talk with Grafe about preparing a scope of services for phase two. That would be continuation of that same trail going from the north end of the lake parking lot behind Ashwaubenon Lake all the way to the fence line, the southern fence line, the new water fence line. And then westward along that fence line and looping around to where the kayak launch will be, the proposed kayak launch / the old boat launch.
Right.
That's phase two of this major project. We want to try and get that rolling because Brown County has been knocking on the door about where are you guys at? We want to get that fairground connection done. So then Brown County would be doing phase three, supposedly, which would be the continued pathway along the river behind the new water sewage plant into the Brown County Fairgrounds. So then that would be on their plate. But we need to get phase 1 and phase 2 done before they could start phase 3, obviously. So that's why we need to get the scope of services going, which has been requested now, and we'll probably start some meetings on that fairly soon.
I could get a closer path than the rest of here. That'll be nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and again, for like I said, more events and stuff. But
That's what I think. That's what I think is gonna happen. There's gonna be more events after Art Street. There's gonna be other people that see it.
And I think,
Works out well.
I think I might have mentioned this at the last meeting too. Stantec has been talking with Cabela's. There might be the potential to do some additional trails in Argonne Park, looping around Cabela's. I know Cabela's I think they've got access to some funding to get rid of some of that Fragmites now finally in front of their store. So that the trail would go from Argonne potentially around Cabela's, which would be their nickel, if they wanted to do that. And then somehow it would connect with the future Lombardi Avenue access, because Lombardi Avenue access, as you know, is probably going to be moved to the north 15, 20 feet, the whole street. The whole street would be moved. This is in front of Pick and Save, in front of Red Lobster, in front of Marguerite's. The whole street would be moved a little bit to the north. That would allow the ability to put a sidewalk / trail in front of all those buildings. Right now, if we tried to do that, it wouldn't be doable because of it would take parking away from those businesses. So the way to do that is to move that whole street to the north. Just because of future because the Visitor and Convention Bureau is going to be put in there, and potentially people walking from Titletown to that. So the need is there.
They already got the apartments and all the.
Yeah.
So it's not, there's a street and then there's a Lombardi, right? The frontage road, is that what you're talking about?
The access road is the frontage road, right? Same
And
thing.
that's not good, that's what's gonna be moved, not Lombardi.
Lombardi would not be moved. It is the access road / frontage road.
It's like Lombardi, and I'm thinking, Lombardi's gonna move, you're gonna have to deal with the state. It's the access road.
Yeah, no, not starting any roads.
No.
Yes, I just said it.
It is the access road.
That long ago.
So Lombardi was gonna move, and I'm like,
Spend any money on
No.
okay, the access.
The access is.
Okay.
And it's not that it's gonna move, they're gonna take what's part of the road and make that the trail.
Okay.
And then they're just gonna extend the road a little bit further to the north. So it's,
No water issues there?
that's part of the whole design process.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure they'd still need to have the stormwater ditch there for stormwater, so on and so forth. But the ability is there to move it enough to be able to put a sidewalk / trail. So, yeah, all kinds of good stuff going on.
That is good stuff.
Yeah.
It really is.
And a lot of that would be paid for out of TIF is what our guess is. And potentially we could use some out of park development too. I mean, there's different funding sources for that. So budget wise, it wouldn't be directly be borne by residents. There's other monies that might be available. That's what I got for Park and Rec. Any questions on what we've got going on?
No, that was good.
Okay.
Beautiful.
All right, so from public safety, I'll start off with an event that happened this past weekend. It's been posted on our Facebook page and the village's Facebook page. One of our officers was rear-ended by a suspected drunk driver on Lombardi at I-41. Fortunately, the officer was out of his squad car at the time and kind of saw it coming. So no Ashwaubenon staff was injured. That officer was assisting another officer on a traffic stop, so nobody actually was injured at all in this crash. But the squad car was damaged rather extensively. The driver that struck our squad car was arrested for drunk driving, first offense drunk driving, but that's the latest event that happened this weekend. As far as overall trends, looking at the traffic figures, enforcement and crashes, Reportable crashes are slightly up this quarter compared to last year. However, we do not have any pedestrian or bicycle involved reportable crashes this quarter thus far this year. Our traffic enforcement is up. Officers have been getting after it pretty well, just despite having 4 vacancies currently. Put in one of the best quarters as far as traffic enforcement activity goes for the past several years. Obviously, the last couple of years were down due to COVID. Something we've been trying to focus on this year is more visible proactive patrol around our schools during school zone time, school admission and school let out. And we've been trying to record that as well. So we use a certain code in our computer-aided dispatch system for traffic complaint, as we call it. And that's how we track that, along with citizen traffic complaints elsewhere in the village, to be able to better quantify and show what we're doing as far as proactive presence that might not result necessarily in a traffic stop, traffic citation, traffic warning. Happy to report that our guys have been getting after that quite well also. First quarter of 2022, we recorded 275 traffic complaint calls for service. That is self-initiated. That is our officers going out there, and every time they're doing school zone, they're creating a CAD call field, so it's generating a number that we can track. If they are doing a speed zone, same thing there, pulling a number they can track. So our guys are getting after it pretty well. That total is, excuse me, allergies are acting up. Well, that total so far this year is about even to where we were at for traffic complaint calls for service numbers in all of 2021. That's not to say we're doing it in 2021, but we're doing better this year and trying to quantify that and stress that. So overall, as far as traffic enforcement activity, enforcement is up. Crashes, reportable crashes are slightly up. Crashes overall are slightly down. So your parking lot crashes, your non-reportable crashes are down a bit. And then as far as overall department-wise operations, did mention we're down 4 spots. We are in a process right now to fill those spots. Issues we're running into are right now people passing the background. Just because we're hurting for bodies, we want to make sure we're getting the right bodies in there. So
I think we'll need to train them too, wouldn't it? Once they come aboard.
it does, depending on what we have to train them for, but definitely want to make sure we're getting the right people on board to be serving the community. So
Do you guys
take
take,
a little bit longer.
Brian, do you take input down from crossing guards? Is somebody, I mean, I'm trying to think of her name that heads up the crossing guard.
From Jackie?
Yeah.
Officer Dunlop?
Yeah.
Yep, and we've been also stressing that with our officers as well, that when they're doing these school zones, it's not just for traffic enforcement, it's also for visibility and community interaction.
Yeah.
So I know when I get out there, and I try to stress with our officers as well, that when they're out there, talk to the crossing guards, at least touch base with them, see what some of the problem spots and problem times are, and try to hammer that down. At the very least, just stop and check in with them. I mean, there are staff as well, and make sure we're visible and make sure
I bring that up because of history. My wife was a crossing guard for years, many years, and some of the stories she'd come home with between the speeding and people driving right over the cone or out there with a sign and not stopping and going right through, maybe those, if they have enough of that, that's where they need to sit for a little bit. You talk about Babcock, that's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's some of that feedback is why you change some of your process and procedural things on your day-to-day operations, and that's why you're seeing the results now.
Yep.
In the numbers too.
Yeah, it's feedback
Some
some
crossing there.
sure.
Yeah, for example, as far as an operational change, our shift started at 7 o'clock. Our officers that are assigned to day shift patrol, we have them go right out on patrol instead of doing briefing in the morning. So we've done that to better align with what the school start times are. Afternoon time, it does get a little bit trickier with that. We do change our shifts at 3 o'clock, but we've got a cannon officer that works a power shift overlapping that. If staffing permits, we have other officers that can overlap that, but that's also getting into the busier time of our day as well for just general calls for service.
Definitely see all around Valley View, so it's good.
Thank you. That's good to hear. I'm trying to be more proactive with it. Our school resource officers as well. They're out there maintaining a presence. Each one of them has a marked squad car. So we try to get that visibility as well. It's hard to measure something that doesn't happen. So that's why we've kind of changed up this year how we are recording our proactive activities. Traditionally, it's been, hey, get out there, and the only measurement we have is enforcement activity. Well, we've got some other ways we can measure things that are proactive, but don't end up necessarily being enforcement in nature.
Thanks.
You have any comments for the schools, Bert?
I do not, other than that I will be sitting with you guys through these meetings for some time.
And thanks for volunteering. Yeah. Maybe it was voluntold. Oh, either way.
These verbs are a little nebulous, but I'm glad to be here.
How is I wonder how is the trail working at Valley View? I know that it's been a while since we put that in along Marvell. Are kids using that? Are parents using that to drop their kids off? To walk up along Marvell then into Valley View? That was a big safe routes to school program.
Yeah, I come up that way when I drop the kids off. I come like along the backside there, and they go past like that crossing guard down there, which the cops are sitting down there too sometimes, like visiting with her. So I know they're definitely checking for that one. And then I come like up that side, and there are always kids walking up that path. So I don't know where they're necessarily coming from neighborhoods wise. I'm assuming from the ones to the side there, otherwise it'd be straight that there are kids on that path.
That's
Often
my
in the morning.
understanding as well.
Yeah, because my daughter's in 5th grade, so I drop her off on that side there, and there's always kids coming up that path. So.
The only thing I would say is I'm on that south side by Pioneer. And what I see is, and I don't know if they can educate, these are younger children, right? But I'll see them walking with traffic. And I know they're little kids and maybe they wouldn't move just quite as fast as we would with getting out of the way, but at least they got visibility of a vehicle coming towards them. And maybe some of it's they're closer to school and they're only a block away, so why do I want to cross and then cross back over to the other side? But some of them are a distance away and they walk. I don't know, it might be parents. I've seen parents walk with their kids that way too.
And the concern is that they're walking with traffic, not opposite traffic.
Well, so I'm a jogger, runner, walker, and my experience over the years is I've been up on the curb more than once in my lifetime. Because you got human beings behind that steering wheel, and sometimes they're just not quite paying attention. At least you got visibility of that vehicle coming towards you. When it's behind you, you don't know what they're doing.
So your question, so to make sure I understand your question is, little kids, educate them because they're walking on the right side of the road, not the left side of the road, in areas where there is.
They don't even know if a car is coming. So let's say there are three people in a row or two.
The mantra is to walk facing traffic.
Yes.
And to bike with traffic.
Yes.
So if you put it that way, it's
that's
more
right.
easily
Your words are
remembered, I think.
I don't know if like when they do the walk to school week, if maybe they could do some kind of education with that within like that at school. Because I know the kids always come home with like a flyer when the week is, and they're always excited about it. Maybe doing some kind of education piece with that walk to school. Because then even the ones that aren't doing it for walking to school, they'll get it just for.
I know Mandy sent me an email asking if we'd be able to give lake passes again, and certainly to any school that is doing the bike to school, which is coming up in May, May 6th, somewhere around there.
It's normally around the end of the year.
Yeah, it's coming up like the first week in May. I'm happy to give them lake passes again for those kids that choose to do that. And it's the same thing in the fall, just for your information, we give pool passes then. So like for a rec swim or a lap swim or something like that. If they walk to school in the fall, they get that pass. If someone's willing at those schools to hand them out to those kids that are coming in.
Sure. One thing for this group, just so everybody's aware, I'm the high school principal. So if a lot of my input is going to be younger kid related, you're going to have to educate me, and I may need information earlier if there are going to be things to talk about, because I won't know it off the top of my head. Obviously, I can talk a lot about high school kids and their driving patterns, but if it's about especially littler kids, let me know ahead of time so that I can ask some questions, because I won't necessarily know off the top of my head.
Yeah. We're easy. But so, and we're not picking on kids, trust me, there's adults that
Oh,
do it too.
no.
The advantage you have is you kind of have a captive audience. With adults, we've done this, and sometimes the adults think you're being arrogant. And you're trying to be, you have to be real careful how you say it to some people, right? And you're just trying to teach them, like we always ask, well, how do we get more education to people in the public, even on the driving, right? What's the basic rights?
Maybe if public safety is out there, Brian, maybe it's something that your officers, if they see the kids walking in the wrong direction, just to let them know, say, hey, you know, you need to walk facing traffic. It's safer, it's courteous, and it's the law. And it's just better for them. And I think the school district, Dirk, I think has some information that they've used in the past that they've given out to kids that talks about biking and walking too. I know there's some videos and stuff that Brad Taylor had access to in the past. So there might be something to hang out in conjunction or put on your website in conjunction with Bike to School and Walk to School Day. Although Walk to School, I think, is in the fall. But anyway, there is education out there, information out there.
I had emailed Tracy. I don't know if you did anything on it or not, but I was wild because it was during the day. It wasn't after school. There must be a bike club. I don't know if it's middle school or high school. They were all on the wrong side of the street. Made me wild. I don't know who.
It was the gym class, I think.
Yeah, but the wrong side of the street, they were going against traffic on the bikes. I didn't know what to do, so I went to you, Tracy, because it just made me wild because it was dangerous. And I had to, if I had class, I don't know, but if they do that in the high school, tell them they're on the wrong side of the street. It was not good. And there were a lot of them.
I would say I do love that they have that kind of stuff in Fayetteville.
I think it's great to have the bikes in Fayetteville. That's super, wish we had it.
Well, and your officers,
But
maybe
good
if
opportunity
they're
to
around,
teach
maybe
that
may have visibility at a time too. And just
I can trust out them too, that
explain to them.
take advantage of those positive
Yeah,
opportunities
yes,
for education.
They were so close to this one time they called, they would have gone if I called the police department.
I think that was from, you had that big grant maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. We bought a lot of bikes and equipment. I'm trying to remember the name of the person. The grant was from. Pep grant.
That was when, this was about probably 10 years ago. We will do a whole lot of sort of lifetime fitness things for TRX training things and bikes and stuff like that. And we move away from the old school roll out the ball for fire class that some of us remember years and years ago.
Awesome.
Good.
And I don't know if Natalie sent anything.
Who's trying to appear at the May meeting, Tracy, do you know?
Yes, at the May meeting and just provide a short educational thing about what Wello can do and how we can get involved with them. So she's planning to come to that meeting.
All right. Did anyone else have any public comments that got brought to them since the last meeting?
I just have one question for Joel. Do we have any update on the status of the Bellin project near across the street or the old Menard site? I'm sorry, old Menard site. If you got any feedback from them on sidewalks in that area?
Nothing yet. We are presently working with them on another location in Ashwaubenon as well, and that's kind of what I was mentioning in site plan. So they haven't formally submitted anything for the current location, but they're looking to add another facility. So we'll keep you up to date here soon. I'm thinking within the month we'll have some more information.
Okay, great. Thank you.
If nobody has anything else, the next meeting is scheduled for Monday, May 9th. And I could entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Happy Monday.
Thanks, everyone.
So
Thank
we're